It's a booming town.
I think we're on. Maybe. Good morning. I'd like to call the June 2nd, 2015 City Council meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Deckent.
Here.
Inskeep.
Here.
Dave Line.
Here.
Soldner.
Here.
Pyros de Carvalho.
Here.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This morning's prayer will be given by Pastor Kim Beery of Trinity United Methodist Church. Thanks, Kim.
You're invited to pray with me. Ever-present God, each sunrise reminds us that your compassions are new every morning. We can start anew every day with your help as we strive to fall upwards. Guide and direct this meeting today so that all voices may be heard. May personal agendas be put aside so we can work for the good of all. Give our leaders insight and wisdom in all that they say and do. All this we ask, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Next item, please.
Item 4A, a proclamation for Smallville, Kansas.
Had to represent.
Oh, look at that.
Could I please have Christopher Wietrick and John Robinson join me at the podium? I noticed the other council members forgot their Superman shirts, but
We're still.
we'll
It's still early.
we'll make sure they get the memo during the Smallville Festival. Whereas the fictional character Clark Kent arrived by spaceship and was raised in Smallville, Kansas, and whereas on June 21, 2013, Hutchinson first proclaimed to be Smallville, Kansas, home of Clark Kent, and Superman/Clark Kent was inducted into the Kansas Hall of Fame. And whereas in June 2014, Hutchinson proclaimed to be Smallville, Kansas for 2 days and hosted the first Smallville, Kansas festival and Smallville Comic-Con, which included celebrities from the television series Smallville. And whereas there is continued and growing interest in our festival and Comic-Con through all types of media around the world, such as Sci-Fi's TV series, The Will Wheaton Project, during last year's festival. And whereas on June 18 through 21, 2015, the second annual Smallville, Kansas Festival and Smallville Comic-Con will return to Hutchinson. Now, therefore, I, Jade Pyros de Carvalho, Mayor of the City of Hutchinson, Kansas, do hereby proclaim that June 18 through 21, 2015, the City of Hutchinson be known as Smallville, Kansas, the home of Clark Kent. Would you like to say a few words?
I just want to thank you, Mayor, and the City Council, everyone in the community that has participated, been a part of this. It's crazy to think this started 3 years ago. I've been putting together a scrapbook of all the articles and everything that's progressed up until now, and it's really kind of touching to see how much the community has bought into this. And I'm really excited about this year because I've already raised about $100 for the food bank. I've already bought carts of food for them. And between my wristbands and bumper stickers, I believe we're going to raise about $2,500 for the food bank and the Boys and Girls Club this year. So I'm really excited about this year. It just keeps getting bigger and better. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, just thank you. It's going to be a great year this year. Chris has done a lot of hard work on the festival, and the Comic-Con is going to bring in a ton of people. And we're going to do the food bank as well at the Comic-Con, so hopefully we can fill truckloads full of food for everybody. So,
And that will start on third Thursday this month?
so
Fantastic.
thank you.
Well, thanks for all your work and for really spotlighting the community service aspect of this. It'll be a fun event. Next item, please.
Item 5, oral communications from the audience.
This is the part of the meeting where we allow communications from the audience on items that are not on the agenda. So if you have anything you'd like to address to the council, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please. Okay. Well, seeing none, please call the next item.
Item 6, public hearing on healthcare facilities revenue bonds.
Is there a motion to open the hearing?
So move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I don't believe we'll have a whole lot of public comment, but just a little quick background. The Colorado Health Facilities Authority has historically issued bonds for Good Sam facilities all across the United States. And in 2005 and 2009, they financed a project here for the Good Sam project up on 30th. And so they're doing a refunding, and those bonds were issued in 2005 and 2009 are a part of this refinancing. And the federal law requires that the City of Hutch holds a public hearing and approve the resolution that we have attached. So again, there's no financial liability or responsibility on behalf of the city. So more of a process procedure at this point in time. So I don't know that there's anybody here that would be here to comment on that. But
Are there any comments from the council or questions?
so we would just close the hearing and then we'll deal with the resolution later on in the agenda.
Okay, is there a motion to close the hearing?
I so move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 7, consent agenda.
I would move to approve the consent agenda and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 8A, consider resolution approving issuance of health facilities revenue bonds.
Good morning, Frank Edwards, Director of Finance for the city. Now that we've held the public hearing on the refunding of the health care bonds, we actually have to adopt a resolution authorizing the company to issue the revenue bonds. The city, as John mentioned, has no liability. This is a procedural issue that's required by the IRS. And you have the attached resolution, and we would recommend that we adopt this resolution to assist in refunding these bonds.
Are there any questions or comments from the council?
Why is this even required? I know,
It's a
I know you
state-
said it's an IRS.
Yeah.
What's the purpose? Is there a time when an entity doesn't approve such a bond?
It's a statute that requires us to do this. It's the logic behind it.
It's a good statute.
Yeah, there probably would not be a time where an organization would, I mean, in this case, the community would have approved the issuance back in 2006, 09,
Yeah.
whenever those
Yes.
issues were, and so it's a refunding, and, the multi-state situation here requires action in every state that they would have issued these bonds in, and I'm sure it's many states that they
Yeah, it's just not
they do
just
work in.
Hutchinson, it's across the
Yeah.
country that they're doing this. But it is a requirement.
It supports the law profession, right?
It probably, yeah.
There you go.
Doing our part to support the economy. Is there a motion on this item?
I move we approve the resolution approving the issuance of these bonds.
I'll second.
There's no further discussion. Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho.
Yes. Next item, please.
Item 8B, consider ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for public improvements.
Just a little background on these because we'll have several to address here. But we are in the process of issuing bonds for certain projects. And in that process, we'll have an ordinance and several resolutions we'll be discussing here shortly. We planned on issuing bonds, closing of the bond sale around August the 31st, and this will fund the projects we're going to talk about today. Because of the nature of some of these projects, some of them follows ordinance, some of them follows resolutions. So the first one we have is an ordinance authorizing the issue of general obligations for certain public improvements. And this is really for Orchard Park, the airport bridge repairs. And it's to give us the authority to issue bonds to cover those projects. Those projects are about $1.8 million for this particular ordinance, and we would recommend that the city council adopt the ordinance in order to proceed with certain costs related to these projects.
So Frank, was this in our CIP?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It was in the adopted budget.
All three of the, or two,
Yes.
okay.
Is there a motion?
I would move to approve the ordinance authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds for public improvement as presented by our finance director.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Kairos de Carvalho?
Yes, next item, please.
Just, Madam Mayor, just for clarification, because this is new to some people, typically we approve these projects in the budget process, then we go out to bid, we bring those bids back, they're approved, and then the project is completed, and then we've got the final, final cost that come in, and then we issue the bonds to begin paying those off. So it's just kind of a step we go through, so.
Next item.
Item 8C, consider resolution of intent for main trafficway improvements.
This is a resolution as opposed to an ordinance, just by definition, it's for certain traffic way improvements. These particular projects, again, were part of the adopted budget previously. And this is for the Main Street repair 23rd to 30th, and the Waldron 23rd to 30th repair as well. And also the Walnut Street Railroad crossing that was just done. The IRS requires this reimbursement resolution, and it allows us the ability to proceed with the bond sale. So if the city council adopts this resolution, we will be able to proceed further with the covering the expenses and issuance of bonds for these projects. In total, this covers about $2.7 million in bonds.
Okay, I will move to approve the resolution as presented.
Second?
Any questions or comments?
Just educate me a bit.
Sure.
We've completed the
Yes.
Walnut Street Railroad work. We're well into both Waldron and Maine. It seems to me we're coming late. Maybe it's just a matter of this is the way things are done.
What
So
happened?
Educate me, please.
Yeah, what happened earlier for these projects, we actually did some what's called temp notes to fund these as we were doing. So it was approved in that process of approving the temp notes to do the work.
Okay.
This will actually give us the ability to pay off the temp notes and convert them to 20-year bonds.
The bonds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is that done for weather purposes? Or why do we issue the temp notes?
So that we can have money to do the project up front.
Well, I mean, so we can do the project at a certain time.
It's a quicker, the temp notes are really just to, boom,
It's just a
get some
short-
financing in
short-term
place,
financing.
short term, and then
It
we,
gives you capital to work
Right.
with.
Yeah, until we know the final cost of the project, we can't really bond it.
yeah.
If we have temp notes, we can do that.
Okay, now the fun begins.
Okay, we had a motion. Was there a second?
Yes.
There
a
was a
second.
second, yes.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Kairos de Carvalho?
Yes, next item, please.
Item 8D, consider resolutions for public hearing on special assessment projects.
This one we have combined together with the special assessments. With special assessments, typically there's a special assessment for streets, for sewer, and for water line improvements. So we'll have a resolution for each of those on these special assessment districts. Oxford Point has 3, and Oxford Point Phase 2 has 2. There was no water line improvements on that yet. The Quail Ridge development has street, sewers, and water. The Family Entertainment District or the bowling alley has sewer and water assessment projects which the city has completed now. And Kissawad North Second Edition also have improvements along with the Inverness Sanitary Sewer, which is the apartments on Severance Street. Okay, they call them the Inverness Apartments. Okay, but the city council had previously authorized these improvements for the purpose of assessments, and we've completed these projects, and now we are ready to proceed with the bonding process, and this will be part of the overall bond process we're in the middle, we're beginning. So to allow for these properties to be assessed, we need these particular resolutions to be adopted, and I believe they have to be adopted one at a time.
And
Okay, here
again,
goes.
again, clarification, this is happening now because now we know what the final costs are, the projects are done, and then we have an accurate number to assess to the individual properties, so. And, yeah, you've got to do it separately, yeah.
Yes.
so.
And this actually establishes the public hearing that we'll have on July the 7th, so that people who are being assessed will have an opportunity to ask questions at that time as well. And at that time, we'll have the bond sale numbers.
So we'll do this again in about a month,
Correct.
except to actually issue the bonds and
After the bonds are issued, yes.
yeah.
Is there a motion on the street and drainage benefit district?
I would move to approve the resolution for a public hearing on special assessment projects as outlined by staff.
I'll second that.
And do we need to do that? We need to do this for each and every one, is that correct?
Well, right now, we're just doing the public
just doing the
hearing.
Just for the public hearing.
But
Yeah.
later,
We
we'll
have to do it separately
each
for
one
the
of them.
each
one by
benefit
one.
district.
Yeah,
We can't group them together.
each individual project.
So we're on, what item are we on?
We're
D.
We're
on
on
D.
8D, we're on the
D.
Oxford
Yeah.
Point Street and Drainage.
I think if we just make the motion to include the specific project, we won't get as we go through them, so.
So this is for the Oxford Point
Right.
sewer.
No, this is
Street
just for the
and
public
drainage.
hearing.
Street and drainage.
Street and drainage, okay.
Street drainage.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. Is there a motion on the sanitary sewer benefit district?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. Motion on public hearing for Oxford Point Waterline Benefit District?
I so move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. And we need a motion on the Quail Ridge Sanitary Sewer Benefit District for the public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. Is there a motion on public hearing for Quail Ridge Street and Drainage Benefit District?
I so move
Second.
to approve, sorry.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. Okay, motion on public hearing for Quail Ridge Waterline Benefit District.
So move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Oops, hold on here.
Yeah.
Sorry. Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. And we'll need a motion on a public hearing for the Family Entertainment Sanitary Sewer Benefit District.
So moved.
The second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. Motion on public hearing for Family Entertainment Waterline Benefit District.
I so move.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes,
Pyros de Carvalho?
Yes. And we'll need a motion to approve or not approve the Kisswa North Edition and North Edition, Second Edition Sanitary Sewer Benefit District.
I move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Daveline.
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes. I need a motion to approve or not approve the drainage benefit district for the Kissawas.
So move.
Is that approve? Move to approve?
To approve.
Okay.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Daveline.
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes. Okay, motion for public hearing on the waterline benefit district.
I move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Daveline.
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes, and motion for public hearing on sanitary sewer benefit district for Inverness.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Daveline.
Yes.
Soldner,
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes, next item, please.
Item 9A, consider request for approval of final plat for Sugar Mill Edition.
Get that?
Government in action right there.
We should have slipped something in there, I think. Just think about
You're
it.
not rubber stamping.
You guys are fast. Good morning, Mayor and City Council. Janet McCarran, Director of Planning and Development. And the item before you is the final plat for Sugar Mill Edition. It's at 612 East First Avenue. These are existing lots that have buildings on them. The case number 15 SDO1. Applicant is Ted Robinson and the owner is T&T Leasing. Here's the existing property, and really what they're doing is a lot line adjustment. They're changing the shape of the lot where the sugar mill is located. So this is the sugar mill lot, and you'll see when we get to the plat that they're changing the configuration of that for a couple of reasons. One is they want to be able to change their taxing a little bit, and they may actually want to sell that property. So let me show you how the new configuration will be. That's kind of a little bit difficult to see. The final plat's a little better. So you can see here's the final plat. The lot no longer goes all the way to the back of the property. Now the reason why they had to do a replat rather than a lot line adjustment is because they were creating new easements. So our regulations say you can't adjust a lot line if there are easements involved without going through the platting process. I have a couple of photos of the property. The sugar mill here, and the other kind of a warehouse manufacturing building in the background. This is looking west.
Jana, are those currently being used for anything?
I believe that the manufacturing building is, but the sugar mill building is not.
Okay.
The applicant's representative is here. He can
Okay,
probably
just curious more than anything.
clarify you on that. I don't think the sugar mill is being used. Here it is. It is actually, they're both in the Houston Whiteside Historic District, but the sugar mill is the only one that's contributing to the district. The other one's not considered contributing. And then this building here is not part of the plat.
Oh, okay.
And that's really all I have for you as far as a presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. And as I mentioned, the applicant's representative is here as well.
So are there new utilities that have been put in or are being put in, or these are already existing
They
easements?
were existing utilities that never
Okay.
been formally placed in easements.
Okay.
And let me kind of go back just so I can show you. I think this one's clearer. So I don't know if you can see, but in the preliminary plat, these dashed lines, those are utilities that are feeding the sugar mill. Well, in the previous configuration, the lot line went like this, so those utilities were on the sugar mill's lot. Well, when you change the lot line, now those utilities have to cross somebody else's property, and in order for that to happen, the best thing to do is to get an easement so that if they need to work on those utilities, they're not trespassing onto somebody else's property. And that's what our regulations require, is that you put utilities that are service lines in easements when it crosses somebody else's property.
Looks like there's no change in zoning or anything, just a slight. There, any other questions for Jana?
And that building that we saw in the picture, is that directly behind the sugar mill, or is it on a different piece of property?
So this building here, this white one?
No, I think
No,
it
that
was
red
north,
brick one.
north and maybe northwest, I'm not sure of
Okay,
the,
yeah, this one here, this building
Yes.
here is located to the west.
oh, it's, okay.
So if I went back to the plat, there's kind of a little street looking thing there, and it's on the west side of that. It's not part of the plat. And I believe the railroad, I could be wrong, I think the railroad's back here though, and so you can't really get through all these. It's probably an area most people don't drive because it's really not on the way to anywhere. Go back and look at the aerial real fast here. Yeah, so there's the railroad. So just for orientation, that building is, that we were looking at, the brick building is right here. And you can kind of see they're really close together.
Any further questions or comments or a motion?
I'd just be curious from the owners, the reason for the replatting, since it does require the easement, since the properties.
Raymond Britton with Alpha Land Surveys. The reason for the platting is because that they want to, in the future, if someone does want to buy the sugar mill, that they can sell that lot. The way it was setting, it was all one piece of property. I think they had communicated with the planning department as to what would their options be if they want to sell it. The original tract is basically a meets and bounds legal description. All of those lots in that area over there, they're tracts. They're not lot 1, block 1. It's tract 5, tract 9, tract 20. That to the east of this subdivision is a platted, but everything to the west is all tracts. So that was kind of their probably first hurdle, was they'd have to plat it so that they can create individual lots. One of their manufacturing facility, which is number 29. And then number 28 is where the sugar mill existing property is, and you could kind of see off the plat how they want to downsize the sugar mill lot to a little bit smaller, because they had trucks that park to the north of the sugar mill, and that's how they get in there and drive into that area and then back into the west side of the sugar mill. So basically it's because it was a meets and bounds property. And in order for them to sell it, they needed to create individual lots and blocks.
And the sugar mill property would then go to the street, I guess, and be, if I recall the overhead plat.
Can you go to the
It
plat,
doesn't
Jen?
now, but it will.
We'll go look at the final plat.
Yeah, it'll come.
So now it goes to the street.
And I'll try to.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, okay.
It does. It by these dashed lines. Yeah, boy, that doesn't show up on there, does it?
Here's the, just move the mouse.
Okay.
Like
That hashed area there that Jana's kind of circling is an ingress-egress easement. So once if I go back, Jana, will that take me back?
Yep. There you go.
So now at this area right here, they have street right away yet. So they can come in this driveway and then access this whole area here. Is nothing around the sugar mill property, is basically an ingress-egress easement, so that whoever buys the sugar mill has right to park there, and whoever would own lot 2, which is the manufacturing facility, that's where they park as well too. So it's kind of a way to share the parking areas to create an ingress-egress easement, and that way they can maintain it and the sugar mill in, in the future as well too. And that's what's designated there as the hatch.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Further questions or a motion?
I will move to accept and approve the final plat of the sugar mill addition with conditions as presented by staff.
Second,
Please call the roll.
yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item, please.
Item 9B, consider bid award for Airport Road Bridge and
Avenue A pedestrian bridge.
Good morning, Michael Kramer with City Engineering Office. We had the bid last week for the Airport Road Bridge as well as an alternate to repair other bridges throughout the city. Those were minor repairs. A little bit of history on the project. In July of last year, in 2014, as part of our CIP, we hired Lochner to do an in-depth evaluation of the bridge and to develop plans and specifications. And so since that time, they've done those evaluations and come up with the bid plans and specifications on what needs to happen for that bridge repair. Part of that bridge repair that we're doing that really wasn't anticipated is some of the pin and hangers and replacing those steel pins. And pin and hanger bridges, they're pretty critical as far as those pins to keep them, inspected and then replace them as needed. So they've gone through and they've developed those plans, and we bid the project. The base bid, the low bidder was Donlinger at $1,128,020, and we do have a recommendation from Lochner on that award. It is over their engineer's estimate by a little under 10%. And in reviewing that with both Lochner and also with Donlinger, one of the main items in there that's over their estimate is the painting, and that's related to the repairs. And right now it's weathered steel out there, and where we're doing some of the repairs, it will need to be sandblasted and painted. And because of it being the weathered steel and the location of being over the railroad tracks, the painting was about 3 times, a little over that, their estimate. And when I talked to Donlinger, that's their subcontractor, and the weathered steel is very difficult to sandblast to the specifications. And I think it's, partly our location, partly being over the railroad, and so it's just according to them, it's a lot of work on the, compared to just blasting normal painted surfaces. And so that's really one of the main overages if you're looking at the whole bid. And I hate to throw around lightly the $100,000 over is not that big of a deal, but I think in this case, when we're less than 10%, in relative terms, it's a reasonable bid. And as far as the alternate goes, those projects were not funded in our CIP, and so we were hopeful that we would have funds available somewhere to do those portions of the project, but they're not anything that's critical to get done right now. So I think that's one that we're going to push off and maybe get it in a future CIP to come back and revisit doing those bridge repairs. And those alternates, what we're talking about is, you've seen where once in a while you'll have a little section of concrete that's away from the rebar on a bridge. It's that type of thing, getting that patched up and looking good, and protecting the bridge for the future. But again, I think the alternate's something we'll come back to in the future and see if we can't get that funded in a future CIP. So the other portion of this is the construction engineering services. That is an hourly agreement with Lochner to provide the inspection services and the construction engineering services on the project. And that is basically a not to exceed or a maximum limit of $178,351.30. And that includes their time and their expenses. And that's a supplement to their existing agreement. And so we're recommending award of the base bid and also approval of that supplemental agreement with Lochner. Do you have any questions for me?
Michael, do we typically use a consultant for our engineering estimates?
Yeah, we do. On projects that they design, they would have more expertise and more availability of bid tabs and that sort of thing on this type of project, just because it's not a project that we typically are doing a lot of, where this is mostly all they do, so they have a lot more resources to look at those estimates.
Thank you.
Was the 178 for the overview and inspection by the company part of the original budget as well?
It's part of the original CIP budget to be bonded. I believe that is a little higher. That 178 though included, if we would be doing all of those 17 other bridges. So I would expect that to be lower because it is on an hourly rate.
Oh, so that includes the alternate overview or oversight as well?
Right. Which would have been a small portion of that, but yeah.
Somewhere in the material, and I'm having a hard time finding it, but it mentioned that it was, the fact that there was only 2 bidders was a little out of sorts. Is that a true statement? Normally,
yeah,
more.
I think that it just shows that the contractors are busy on this type of work. And if you look in there, there is a list of plan holders that's rather long. And, but these were the only 2 then that actually submitted bids. So we had a lot of folks look at it, and for whatever reason, they, decided not to bid it. And it's probably a workload situation.
Well, I can't help but mention this. Some of you may have reviewed the detail of the project bid. There's a little item on number 6 that is of particular interest. It's a whopping $12,000 expenditure for 3 light pole supports. And I bring this up now because I think we're going to revisit about that, but I'm really encouraged, I'm pleased that you got those light pole supports in there, because hopefully in the future, the council will consider a full lighting program of Airport Road, which we've talked about in the last budget cycle, from the US 50 interchange, hopefully all the way to 4th Street. So this provision is in there, so when we get to that project, at least we'll have the supports there to include in the project. So thank you for that.
Well, I wonder if that is something that's being looked at for conversation for our next CIP round, or we talked about it briefly. John's wish that stretch have a lighting program.
Yes, we've got that presented, or we'll present that in the CIP with
Great.
numbers, yeah.
It'll
That
be
one
like
and
Christmas, John.
There's another,
I wonder, yeah, you're gonna like it if we get it done.
what was it, we have that project. and
Yeah,
there's
we looked
another
at
one.
two, John, and I think Merrill's done some work with Westar and so on. The
Yeah.
airport road from the 50 interchange to 4th Street.
Right,
And then hopefully K61 from the new interchange, I think it goes to Avenue G, and then the existing lights are there. So it will
We'll
fill
have-
that
we'll-
gap on those two corridors.
yeah, we'll
Important
discuss that.
corridors for our community entrance, so.
And Michael, this will begin when and last approximately how long?
I would expect that it would begin, within a month or so. If we
Okay.
award it today, they'll have their contracts all in place, and they'll start work, but you won't see them on site probably for, I would guess, another month after that, because they have a lot of materials and stuff to order
Okay.
and get approved and that sort of thing. I would expect it to last through the fall.
Okay.
Meaning up until December, and I don't have the exact date of the end of the contract with me, but I'm thinking it's about 6 months.
That's kind of what I gathered from reading
Yeah.
it, and I just wanted to verify.
That wouldn't shut down that water park over there, would it? On Avenue A, I was talking about.
Oh, I don't think that it would affect the park. I think they'll do all their access from the north side.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Is there a motion or further questions on this item?
Well, I would move to approve awarding the project to the low bidder, Donninger and Sons Construction, for the base bid amount of $1,128,020 and supplemental agreement number 2 for professional services for a limit of compensation of $178,351.30, and authorize the mayor to sign.
I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent,
Yes.
Inskeep,
Yes.
Dave Line,
Yes.
Soldner.
Yes.
Pyrus de Carvalho.
Yes, next item, please.
Item 10, report of city officials.
Okay, we'll start with you, Nancy.
Nothing.
Okay, what about you, Steve?
Nothing?
What have you got, John?
I can't help but notice, and I appreciate the Hutchinson News recent coverage of all the great public infrastructure improvement projects that this council and through the leadership of staff are providing to this community. I think we're being certainly responsive, and these are great projects. I know orange barrels are kind of a limiting thing for a while, but in the end, we're going to have some wonderful infrastructure improvement projects in our street program. So thank you for that. Just kind of wanted to bring that to the attention of everyone.
Thank you, John. Dave?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Thank you. The only thing I had is to remind everyone that the second meeting of the Drug Impact Task Force is on third Thursday from 4 to 5:30, and we'll probably hold it in council chambers. I appreciate everybody's support of that. John?
Just a couple quick things. Thursday, just an update, we'll be holding interviews for the construction manager at risk contractors on Thursday. We'll be pretty much all day doing that. As you know, we've got four firms that we're going to be interviewing, and hopefully be able to bring back a recommendation to the city council at our June 16th council meeting. So project's moving along. The other thing is budgets. Thinking maybe I want to talk with the council about possibly the week of June the 15th. We'll look at our agenda on the 16th, but what we typically like to do is kind of have just a kind of pre-look at the capital improvement program and kind of see if there's some things that are maybe not in there that you need to be in there. We get a little bit of work to do. I'd like to always have that review before we present the final draft document towards the end of June. So we'll look at some dates there. We're busy this week with meeting with department heads, going over operational budgets and tweaking here and there, looking at revenues and seeing kind of where we're at. I think the only thing I can say at this point is that we're probably not as in bad a shape as the state. That's the only thing I can say. So for whatever that's worth.
That's not saying much.
Give or take 700 million here or there, but I look at Frank thinking I hope we're all right, but we should be fine. But I mean, it'll be a challenge every year. It is. It's like we start out here and then we gotta kind of push it, squeeze it back down. But starting to get down to the nitty gritty on kind of where we're at with that. So, but I'll be back in touch with you as far as a possible date. And if the date's right, we could do it, you know, on the 16th after this meeting. Depends on the agenda though, what we've got going on. So, and then I would ask for if there are any questions. Anybody have any questions on anything else? Potholes. We are working on potholes.
We're
So
working on potholes.
if you got a pothole, let me know and we'll address it. But the crews are out doing that. I was on the radio this morning and nice lady called in and said she called the city about a pothole, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, here we go. And she said, and they came out the next day and filled that pothole. Thank you so much. So anyway, thank Reg and his guys for that. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn into an executive session or recess into executive session for purposes of discussing confidential data related to financial affairs or trade secrets of second parties until 10:30.
Great. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Deckent?
Yes.
Inskeep?
Yes.
Dave Line?
Yes.
Soldner?
Yes.
Tyros de Carvalho?
Yes.
Okay.
Shoot, I don't even feel like I need a break.